I would like to present some of the games from this book because there are some interesting openings. Nowadays, obviously, we play a lot more. We generally play chess online, often with the same opponents because they are friends, and probably we want to surprise them. So in order to surprise them, we need to have different opening ideas. Now, Basman was really good, but he really prepared these openings, so it's not that easy like they make it look in the book. Because at a certain point, if you take a long time to prepare an opening, why not to learn a common opening instead of one of these that are a little dubious? One. And two is Basman was, however, an international master, I think, so he was a really good chess player, something the 99% of chess players cannot aspire to. Yet, in this book, and in the games that I want to present you, you will see that Basman beats the top, because he beats some of the top GM of his period, and so that's kind of very, very interesting in my opinion. So I hope you will enjoy it. And now I will start to show you the fourth game. Okay, so this is game number one. This was played between Making, that was white, and Basman, that was black. It was played in Hastings in 1966. Making in that period, if I remember well, was a Brazilian grandmaster that was thought to be the top of the top. Making start with d4, Basman c5. So he immediately attacks the pawn d4, okay? d5. Generally, when there is this kind of push, it can go in this kind of Benoni. d6, c4, and here e5. Very interesting surprise in a sense, because Making doesn't take back, he doesn't play en passant, and obviously he doesn't play an en passant probably because he doesn't want to develop easily the opponent's pieces, because en passant would mean that black takes immediately and they has develop a piece for free, right? Knight c3, g6, e4. This move obviously is meant to block this, but it means also that he wants to block the idea that Basman could have of developing on this diagonal, which means that surely Basman thought about this, because again, Making is a grandmaster, he is an international master, he must have thought about that. So how does he solve the problem? Well, this is the interesting part. Watch this. Bishop h6. So, why is this an interesting move? Here there is a comment. He says, an original setup from the player of the black pieces against which Making, with his 14 years the youngest competitor in the tournament, does not oppose. But why is this interesting? Because the point here is this. If white actually takes and does this, generally in chess we are taught that this complex of dark squares now is weak, and that if you don't have the bishop anymore, that's really bad. So imagine this. I think it was Korchnoi that said, once you know the rules, you can break them. But would be good for a beginner to do something like that against a more expert chess player? Probably not. Probably not a good idea. However, let's see how strangely react Making. Making plays bishop d3. And I mean, this is a pawn. This is a pawn and this is a pawn. These are all pawns at this point, because he developed a piece in a place that is not going anywhere. So what's the meaning of bishop d3? Probably that he wants to fight against a possible f5. So that's the meaning. But as you can see, this is more active. and this is not so much active. This is active because he has a big diagonal to use, okay? So what did Basman continue with? He played bishop takes c1, wow, queen takes c1, a6. Generally, I am wary of a6 as a move because knight b4 and this it can be a problem, but probably he calculated something, or maybe he already played this line multiple times and so he was an expert. Knight g e2, queen h4, g3, queen h3. So now white cannot castle on the king side. f4, knight d7, queen d2. This move is interesting, right? Because you say, oh, why did he play the queen d2? Well, he's telling the opponent that he's gonna castle this side. That's what he's doing with queen d2. Knight gf6, castle, right, and castle. Both sides know now where to target their respective attacks. Yes, but for example, if black wants to attack on this side, he has a queen on this side, I don't know, it doesn't make much sense, right? So it will be interesting to see how he recycles this queen, because it seems out of the game, okay? Rook d f1, king g7, and knight g1. That's an interesting move. It seems that it was sharper to play f5, which would make sense since the rook is on f1, but okay. So he's trying clearly to reposition the knight. Queen h6, knight f3, rook e8, king b1, e takes f4, g takes f4. And here they put a diagram and they say, obviously when they put a diagram in the book, now you are black, try to think what you would do as black, because if the authors put a diagram in the book, it means that it must be something. In this case, black needs to try to attack, because as you can see at the moment, white did something, but black didn't do nothing. So the logical move obviously is b5. And you say, why b5? I lose a pawn. Yes, but you need to open the lines. At a certain point, if you want to attack this king, you need to have some open lines. Okay? So that was the logical move, which was played by Basman. Yes. C takes b5. So, sorry if my comments sometimes are wrong or they are correct. I never see the games before making a video because I don't want to be biased and I want to give you my impression. That may be right or not, I honestly don't care, because the important thing here is not to be right but to learn, right? So also when we are wrong, we learn because we ask ourselves some questions. We want to be proactive in learning. If we just watch the games for watching them, we will never learn anything. So we must say, oh, why this move? So it's also correct to say, I wouldn't sacrifice a pawn. I would, because again, my experience is that I need to open the lines, okay? Knight b6, knight g5. It's already difficult for white to let his pieces work together. So the authors comment saying that white is lacking coordination. Rook e7 and b takes a6. Bishop takes a6, bishop takes a6, and rook takes a6. So black got what he wanted. He finally has two files which he can use to attack this king. That's really great. So black achieved his goal, okay? Again, sometimes, especially in the opening or in the middle game, you must not consider the loss of a pawn important, because here we have 2, 4, 6, and black has 2, 4, 5. So black has lost a pawn, that's a fact. In the endgame probably would be very important. If we didn't have any pieces at all, just the kings, yeah, white is winning because he just needs to push this pawn and is gone. It's a promoting queen. So that's a fact. But in the middle game, here the position, it's easy to evaluate. You don't need an engine to tell you that you are going to attack as black and that's what you want. Then of course, if this was a game between engine, probably you know, they are able to find some amazing defensive resources, and so they are able to solve this kind of problem. But humans, when they are under pressure, they crack. Knight b5, and now there is another great move by black. Black needs to activate the pieces, needs to bring them into the game, and as you can see, they are here but they are not doing much. So this is more difficult, I think, to see for black, because I would be scared too, honestly. But Basman clearly was a good player. Rook takes e4, that's a good sacrifice. Knight takes e4, knight takes e4. And this is possible because white cannot play this, otherwise it would be a mess. So imagine how strong is this knight. Because you see, they tell us the rook is 5 and knight is 3, yes, but it depends in which position and when. In this case, I honestly think that knight is worth maybe 6, even 7 as a points, instead of 5 or 3. Why? The idea is simple. As you can see here, there are some attacking lines. This is coming here. It's gonna be a mess, I think. It's gonna be a mess. In fact, queen e2, knight c4. Wow! You cannot take because check, and you are forking the queen and the king at the same time. You cannot take this because check, and you are forking the queen and the king. So beautiful move, beautiful move. Yeah, probably in that time, this is Hastings 1966, they have clearly long time controls and they have the time to think about combinations. Today, unfortunately, we play blitz most of the time, so maybe we are not that good in finding and spotting the stuff right away. King a1, knight d2. This is even more scary because look, he's trying to make knight b3, another check. It's kind of becoming scary for white. And white plays knight a3. Probably he wants to exchange one of the attackers, because if he's able to exchange the attackers, the attack will vanish and he's peachy and win the game, right? Because he's a material advantage now. So the attack must be calculated precisely. I would like also to show you one thing. In reality, the book has also some good pictures, old pictures from 1966 or 1970s of Basman, also in this one, 1979 beer. So the book did a good job also to not only give us games, but also some biographical pictures. Okay, so how do you continue as black? I would advise you to pause the video and try to find what you would play now as black. Remember one thing I told you, this knight is clearly more worth than a rook at this moment, you know? So you want to do something that you don't want to lose the knight. And the move by Basman is rook takes a3. Amazing, amazing move. Now, when you play this move, you say, okay, but what happens if I play this? And that's the point why I ask you to pause the video. You need to find the mating move, the checkmating move. What is the mating move in this case? Pause the video, try to think, because that's the only way you're going to learn chess, if you think. If you don't think, you're not going, it's just a waste of time to watch even this video. The move obviously is king f8. Why? Because this is unstoppable. And why it's unstoppable? Because practically all the squares are controlled by the knights. So that's the real problem. So that's why you cannot take that rook. Okay? So this is really a beautiful, beautiful game. H4, and now obviously the same problem that we had before. Like I said, this one is pinned, so it cannot really defend anything. Boom, knight b3, king b1, knight c, d2, king c2, knight d4, forking finally, king takes d2, knight takes e2, b takes e3, and knight g3. And at this point the good making gave up because he understood that it was over. I really love this game. I hope you will enjoy too, in case you buy the book. There are really a lot of games by Basman, and they are worth watching just for this aesthetic pleasure. And then of course you can also get some ideas for your own games as opening preparation.